Good day, everyone, and welcome back to yet another Wine Clique tasting webinar. Today, we're very proud to present one of the top wineries in the Rhone Valley, Domaine Paul Jaboulet. Well, a little bit about Jaboulet. Jaboulet has one of the longest history of any winery in the world. It is founded in 1834 by Antoine Jaboulet in the Northern Rhone Valley, and it's owned today by the Frey family, who also owns several wine properties in their holdings. You've got Chateau La Lagune in Bordeaux, Chateau de Coton André in Burgundy, and I've just been told by Caroline yesterday that she has another property in Switzerland. Well, but today we focus only on Paul Jaboulet, and specifically Hermitage La Chapelle and Hermitage Blanc-Sterenburg. Well, when Wine Clique started, we got to know Gwen, and we've did quite a couple of wine dinners with her. We've presented some of the old vintages. We did some 97s. We did 97s, 99s. Oh, I think we did a series of library vintages for the sevens, for the numbers starting with ending with sevens. Yeah. So over the last couple of years, these was the experiences, and this was the wines that we had with Gwen, and we fell in love with the wines. So today we're very, very happy to have none other than Caroline, the winemaker, the owner, to share with us her experiences, to tell us a lot more about Paul Jaboulet and a lot more about La Chapelle. So I think without further ado, let me hand the stage over to Caroline. So Caroline.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. I'm very happy to share this tasting with you. And I hope, yes, you will have a good idea of what happened here at Jaboulet and of all the work we have done and we are still doing in the vineyards. Alice, as you said, Paul Jaboulet Aine is one of the first winery to be born in the Rhone Valley. It was founded in 1834. And after 6 generations of Jaboulet family, my family purchased Jaboulet in 06, so quite a few years ago now. And we own vineyards in all the appellation of the Northern Rhone, Côte-Rôtie, of course, Condrieu, Saint-Joseph, Saint-Péret, Cornas, and then, of course, Hermitage and Gros Hermitage. And yes, today we are going to focus on the hill of Hermitage, which is probably one of the which is one of the best terroirs in the world. And we will speak about it, of course, about all the things that make this place so special in the wine world. I know we have a small video just to make an introduction about the estate and about the philosophy we have here in the vineyards. The idea, of course, is to focus on the terroir and to be able to have the best expression of each terroir in the bottle. And I believe the terroir is not only about pebbles. The terroir is about all the biodiversity around in the vineyards, around the vineyards, and also in the subsoil. So we try to work in a very global approach. Not only the vineyards and the pebble, but this very global approach about environment. So we, as you will see in the video, we pay a lot of attention to the biodiversity, to the fauna and the flora, to all the interaction that can exist between vineyards and all this kind of plants, animals, and all the biodiversity around the vineyards. And that's why we decided several years ago to, after the organic conversion, we started the biodynamic conversion to be able to work in this very global approach.
That's so lovely.
Yes, it's this idea about this approach, which is not only focused on the vineyards and on the soil and the pebbles. It's really this way to work with all the biodiversity and all the interaction of the life actually. Each place is, of course, Hermitage is special, and each plot of vineyard is special because of the pebbles. And I will show you some pebbles from Hermitage later. But of course, it's important. But then we have to consider all the life in the soil and then around the vineyards. And that's how we work today.
Well, Paul Jaboulet is one of the largest landowner in Hermitage with almost 22 hectares worth of vines planted. How long did it take for you to actually implement this this microclimate in such a large area?
Oh, it's a long process, and I'm sure I will still learning until the end of my life. That's why it's so interesting to work with this approach, because every day we are learning a lot about the vineyard, about the soil, about the climate, and you know that we have a lot of things to face with the climate change today. And of course, it's very to face the dryness period or the very warm temperature. It's very important that everything is working well, and biodynamics is very helpful for that. But yes, each year we learn a little bit more about the vineyard, about the soil, about the wine, about the identity of each place. So each year we try new things. Each year we try to improve. And I am not able to say that one day we will reach the perfection for each terroir. I'm sure that until the end of my life, I will be improving a lot of things. Because when you are working with all this biodiversity, it's such a strong interaction between all the elements. It's a very complex interaction. So yes, of course, I will learn until the end. And you know, for example, in the soil, the quantity of biodiversity in the soil is higher than on the soil. So we have much more biodiversity in the soil than on the surface. So it's a long process, and we have to work with um, uh, all this life in the subsoil. We have to understand how they live, what they need, and a soil has to be lively if you want to bring the identity of the terroir to the wine. So yes, it's a big project. It's a
And
yes.
are you
We learn every day.
yeah. Are you bring these ideas over to your other properties in Burgundy?
Yes, we have the same approach in each vineyard, and of course, each place is different with a different climate, different terroir, different people too, because it's very important to include all the team in this approach. To be successful, all the team has to get the same conviction about the biodynamic and about all this viticulture. So yes, so that's why sometimes, you know, to get the official certification, it's 3 years. But in the real life, if you want to have strong foundation, it's much more longer, because you have to be patient with the vineyards, you have to be patient with the soil, and you have to be patient with the team, and everything has to improve step by step. So, but yes, we have the same approach in all the vineyards.
So you brought the property in 2006. The full vintage was 2007. So 10 years, 11 years now. You launched 2018, just this year. So with this new approach that you bring into the winery, what do you see is the most significant? Is it in terms of acids, in terms of fruits, phenolics, and everything? In this 10 years span, what do you think is the most significant?
We have seen many small improvements years after years. And for example, in the vineyards, something very important, we have seen that the vineyards have a better resistance today to the long dryness period we have to face during the year. And sometimes it's in July, sometimes it's spring, but we have to face this very small rainfall. And it's very important to understand that to produce a good wine, of course, you have to pick up good grapes. That's the first condition. And to have good grapes, you have to be able to keep your vineyards in good shape. And the maturation of the grapes has to come from the vineyards, because the vineyards will feed the grapes with all the elements like sugar, tannins, perfume, aromas, and so. This is very important. And during the dry and warm periods, sometimes the vineyard is not working very well, and then it is not anymore maturation, it's just concentration coming from the sun and from the high temperature. And then the taste of the grapes will be different. The taste of the grapes will be probably over-ripened. But if you are able to have a good shape of the vines until the harvest, then you will have all the identity of the terroir, and your grapes will be definitely better. So we have seen with biodynamic and all the work we are doing on the soil that the vines have clearly a better resistance to the dry and warm period. And then in the wine, each year we do some experimentation, because I like to do a lot of comparison between all the different kind of viticulture. We do this experimentation in the vineyards, and then we make a separate vinification and then separate bottling. And we are able to compare at the end wine coming from a same plot with a part which have been working in organic viticulture and a part in biodynamic viticulture. And then we do blind tasting with between 8 and 10 people. And last year, we also, 2 years ago, I had the chance to do this tasting with Jaboulet, which is the
writer for
you know him.
Correct. Yes.
So it was interesting because we did the blind tasting, and each time everyone has a preference for the biodynamic wine. Some people speak about a better acidity, some people speak about a better balance, some people think say that there is more brightness in the biodynamic wine. So the sensibility of each person is different, but at the end, 100 of the people who do this blind tasting prefer the biodynamic version. So that's the most important.
Yes.
And what I have seen also is that we have a stronger identity from one place to another. We have a better identity of each terroir between Saint-Joseph, Crozes-Hermitage, years after years. Yes, the personality of each place is stronger.
So you speak about parcel to parcel. So we know that La Chapelle, it's from a couple of vineyards. So it's a couple of lieux-dits, right? So you've got Le Mille, you've got Bassard, you've got Roucault, Graffiat. Yeah, there's a couple of properties.
So yes, La Chapelle is mainly Méal, Bessard, Greffieux, and Roucault.
Roucault 4, right? Yes. And so with this, when you're doing the tasting with Jaboulet Aine, have you tried like within the same lieux-dit, biodynamic and non-biodynamic, and what is the impact and what is the feel and on this?
Usually we do the experimentation on the Crozes-Hermitage plot, because it's on the flat part of the vineyard, so it's quite easy to separate two blocks. And yes, Jaboulet Aine, we make an experimentation. It was about the silica, the 501 biodynamic preparation, and one part of the vineyard has received the 501, and one part was only organic with no 501. And we wanted to compare what is the impact of this preparation. We put 3 glasses. In 2 glasses, it was the no 501, and 1 glasses was with the 501. And the idea was to find which glass is different, which glass is better, and why it is better. He tasted the 3 glass, and he said, okay, this one is different. It was the one with the silica, and he said, okay, and what is your preference? I prefer this one. It was still the same with the silica. And then he said, it's when you speak about biodynamic, it's not especially about acidity or alcohol, or it's much more about a global impression. And the impression of Jaboulet Aine when he tried this wine was to say, this wine has more brightness compared to the other. So more purity and more brightness. That was interesting.
Yeah. And I think you've prepared some videos for us regarding the vinification at the winery. Yeah. So maybe can you tell us briefly about 2020? Yeah. What was the harvest
Yes,
of 2020?
we finished the harvest. Yes, 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago. And it was we started harvest very early. We started on the 15th of August, so it was earlier than the previous vintage. And the challenge for us was to be able to pick up all the grapes in a short window compared also to previous vintage, because the maturity was very fast, and we wanted to pick up the grapes at the perfect maturity, and we didn't want to have any kind of over maturity. That's why it was intensive harvest for everyone. And then, yes, we are still in the vinification process. When you have good grapes, the vinification is quite easy. You just have to respect the grapes and just be able to express the terroir in the wine. So we work with very soft extraction, with soft pump over and pigeage. It's more a kind of grapes maceration than really a strong extraction. So this is pigeage. So we push the grapes in the vat just to put all the grapes in a skin contact with the juice. So it's very soft. We do it few times during the alcoholic fermentation. And then this is a pump over. The idea with the pump over is also to put the juice on the grapes on the top of the vat, but also to make an oxygenation, which is very important for the yeast. Yeast need oxygen to make the fermentation. And then we have the same idea of oxygenation on a white wine, just to help the yeast to finish the alcoholic fermentation. And during all this process, we taste the wine very often. Here it's décuvage. When the alcoholic fermentation is finished, we take out from the vat the natural juice, which will be the best part actually of the wine. And then we have to press all the grapes. And then we do it's an important period, because when the alcoholic fermentation is finished, we taste the wine every day to take the decision about décuvage. And it's very important to control this period of maceration between the end of alcoholic fermentation and the décuvage. Usually it's between 10 or 15 days. It depends of the wine, but it's the period where we have no more extraction, but we will get the flesh of the wine. So it's an important period. And then we press the grapes, and we have the press wine. We put them in barrels. So we have a lot of barrels of this press wine, and we taste each barrel. And some of them are really interesting for the blend, and we keep them for later and to blend them with the natural juice. And some of them are very tannics, and we don't use them. But it's a much more physical work, this one.
Yeah, I see the previous image. Do you make any marc and fin at the domain?
Any what?
Any marc and fin? Marc de Bourgogne and fin de Bourgogne.
No, we don't. No, we don't. We still have we have already a lot of things to do and a lot of wine to taste, and we don't do anymore. Perhaps when in the future, we don't know, but not today.
Okay. No problems. Do you want to go to the tasting and then we can talk a little bit more? Or
Yes.
yeah, hang on. I think there's some questions, is it?
Yes, we do have some question here, and the question is coming from Tamara, and the question is, what specific canopy management do you utilize to mitigate the effects of hot summers?
So all the vineyards in the Rhone Valley, they are it's a Goblet on Échalas. So we have one. Je sais pas comment on explique tout ça. Échalas, it's I can do a smaller
A drawing.
but we try to have a beautiful canopy on the vineyards. So we have the stick, and then all the vines are like a bunch around the. Oh, I don't know if it's very clear.
I think. Okay.
And then it's very important to have this canopy for us because, of course, all the maturation, as I was explaining before, all the maturation of the grapes has to come from the leaves. And then the leaves will also be able to protect the grapes from any kind of sunburn. And I prefer to have a little shadow over the grapes and not to have the grapes exposed directly to the sun, to preserve the aromas, to preserve the freshness of the grapes. I don't know if that is the answer to the question.
Okay. I'm trying to get some images. Basically, it's the way the vines are being planted, right? I think it is not in this. It is standing up.
It's like okay. Let me 1 second. Okay, we have this. Okay, I'm not a very good. Ok, je sais pas, on a la vigne ici.
Vines supported on sticks.
I'm drawing something. It's not really good, but
yes. I've got an image on the screen.
We have all the leaves here around. Je sais pas si on comprend quelque chose. Hein. Yes, it's not really this. This is in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, and you don't have a thing.
Yeah, this is in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, right? But
yes, but I can show you here. Okay, we have the vines here with the grapes. We have a piquet, and then we make a kind of bunch. Around, but you can see it here actually. We have this, and we take the leaves and we put the leaves around this.
So you basically grow a foliage around the stick in order to protect, the bunches.
Bunches, yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, so
it's a good way to cultivate the vineyards because you have a good sun exposure all around the grapes. And then it's also very healthy because the wind can really go into the grapes and the leaves compared to. Yes, it's very windy around so it keeps the vines very healthy.
Yeah, I think with this method you have got the circulation, you have less rotting, and you have much fresher. You have much fresher grapes. Very. Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, my explanation is a little bit difficult.
It's okay. Yeah. Why don't we start with the tasting, and then we'll see whether we can get a little bit more images for you.
Hermitage. Ok. On va attaquer avec 2015. Ok. Steringberg 2015. L'histoire de Steringberg. So everyone has the sample at home. That's right.
Yes.
Good.
So when you talk
do you have the map of Hermitage just to show the vineyards on the map? So we started with 2015. So what you have to know first about the white Chevalier de Sternberg, it's a blend of 2/3 of Marsanne and 1/3 of Roussanne. And the vines are planted mainly on the top of the hill, where we have very thin sand, which was bringing by the wind during the geological area. So, and these loess are very interesting for the white wine because it's a very, very thin, I have small loess in here. It's interesting for the white wine because they provide a very good hydric condition to the wine, to the vines, and we don't want to have any strong hydric stress on the white wine. That's why this kind of soil are very interesting. So I can show you, I don't know how, you can see Les Murets, for example, and Maison Blanche. Maison Blanche it's really the top of the hill, and it's here where we have the Marsanne, very old Marsanne, and sometimes this Marsanne are used to produce La Chapelle Blanc. But it's mainly in the blend of Chevalier de Sternberg. So regarding the harvest, we try to pick up the grapes of Marsanne and Roussanne when they still have a nice perfume and freshness. I worked a lot with Denis Dubourdieu. And I did my first vintage with Denis Dubourdieu in 2002 in his estate, and I did a white vinification of Clos Floriden and Château Renan. So I have this approach of Denis Dubourdieu about the white, which is a lot about the purity, the freshness, and we try to avoid any kind of oxidation in the wine, because oxidation actually has the same taste in each place. Oxidation has the same taste in Hermitage, in Jura, in South Africa, or everywhere. Oxidation is something which is very common, and it's not an identity of the terroir. So that's why we try to avoid this kind of things. So we do a lot of work in the vineyards all the year, of course, to pick up fresh and ripened grapes, but not over-ripened. And then in the cellar, we have reduced a lot the use of oak, and you will see if you compare 15 and 17, the 15 is more oaky than the 17, because between those two vintage we have replaced the barrels by cemetery eggs, and today in 2020 I can say that we don't use any more oak for the white grapes. Of course, we still have few barrels because sometimes we are not able to put all the wine in the cemetery eggs. But to preserve with this very warm vintage, it's not easy to produce good white wine. Actually, it's a big challenge, and we believe that with this warm vintage and in the past year, it's better to keep a lot of reduction and to avoid any kind of over oxygenation in barrels.
So from the 15 vintage, you stop putting in the barrels and said you use the eggs.
Yes, we still have wine in the barrels in 15, but it was half in barrels and half in eggs. And then years after years, we have reduced the barrels and increased the cement eggs. And today we have mainly cement eggs, and we have only few barrels.
Right.
So,
and when I have a conversation with winemakers about the usage of cement eggs, about concrete vats, yeah, why, in your opinion, do you choose to use cement eggs?
because we today, I think it's this kind of vats helps to keep the freshness of the wine. You know, all the past vintage, we had this kind of warm temperature and dry period, which are much more difficult to manage for white vines and for Boussan and Marsanne. And to compensate this warm climate, we believe that this kind of aging is better. And that's why step by step, we started in 15, and today, yes, we have mainly concrete eggs.
Yeah. Because in my opinion, I can think of when you have a concrete vat, it is square. Whereas when you have a concrete egg, it's
cylindrical. Yes, the egg is the shape of an egg.
The shape of the egg is cylindrical. So does it necessarily mean that the circulation, the surface area, that actually plays a part between the decision between to use concrete vats and the cylindrical?
The quality of this concrete egg is the shape, of course, and it's built with the using the gold number, so the shape is very special. And then there, it's only concrete. There is no iron or this kind of thing.
Iron. There's no metal.
Yeah. No metal. Yes, it's only concrete. So it's the fabrication is really special to be able to make a concrete egg with no metal. But it's important for the wine in terms of vibration first, and then the shape of the egg allow to keep the lees in suspension. The lees are always moving into the wine, so we have to do less batonnage, for example.
And so with this, you will feel that the vintages, the white wines will be fresher.
Yes. But you know, sometimes when we say fresh, some people think about acidity and light wine. And I want to say that when I speak about freshness, I don't speak about light wine or a strong acidity. The wine of Hermitage are always very powerful. For me, freshness is more about the length of the wine and the perfume, which have to be yes, very pure and fresh, and with again no oxidation.
Yeah.
I'm okay if a white wine of 10 or 15 years old start to have a taste of yes, a little bit oxidation in the wine, but I don't want to have this kind of perfume in a young wine.
Okay, so let's speak about the wine. So how do you like the character of the wines?
The Stellingberg is always a very powerful wine, and here on the 15 you can see it's a rich wine at the nose. It's very intense, and even the mouth is very powerful. But the middle of the palate is powerful, but you still have a good length in the wine, which is for me very important. And then this kind of wine can age very well. I have tried some very old vintage of Sternberg, like 86 or 83, and it's very interesting to see how this white Hermitage are able to age. And then, of course, this wine are gastronomic wine, and yes, you have to take the time to cook to enjoy your bottle, but it's part of the story.
Okay, we do have some question here, and the question is coming from Gokar Meng. The question is, moving from oak barrels to concrete vessel will change the typicity of the wines. So what steps do the winery take to help existing customer adapt to the new style of the wines?
No, but you know, it's for me, the typicity of the wine is coming from the terroir, and what we try to avoid in the cellar is the things that will comment je peux dire ça? What we avoid in the cellar is, yes, it's to lose the typicity of the terroir. And in the past vintage, we had very warm year, and we have decided to use those concrete eggs because the wine are richer than, of course, 20 years ago because of the climate change. And if we add barrels to this richer wine, and then we lose the typicity of the terroir. And the concrete eggs today help us to preserve the purity and the taste of the terroir. So the typicity has never changed because the typicity comes from the soil. So what we decide in the cellar is to preserve this typicity. And you will see you will have less, of course, less oak, but you will have more perfume and more purity in the wine. And the wine, the nose and the mouth will be still rich and powerful, but with a better balance. But I'm sure that it's really a small improvement. I'm sure the consumer who used to drink Chevalier de Sternberg will still recognize the wine.
I think
we did a strong change on the white wine when we purchased Jaboulet in 2006. At this time we did important change because when we tasted the wine from the 80s and when we tasted the wine from the 90s, c'est ça, c'est correct. We realized that the 83, 86 were wonderful wine with a very beautiful typicity, a nice evolution, of course, but the wine were still lively. And when we tried, for example, 1996 or 1998, the wine were completely oxidized, and there was no more typicity of Hermitage. And that's why in 2006 we decided to be back to the old style and to produce white Hermitage with a strong purity and brightness and perfume. And we want to avoid those pre-oxidized wine. And then years after years, of course, we make those small improvements, as I was saying at the beginning. But it's the case for this wine, but also for La Chapelle, and also La Maison Bleue, and all the wine we are producing. We do small improvements each year, but the goal is always to focus on the typicity and on the terroir.
Why don't we move on to the next wine first, and then we can continue the discussion on this topic. So the next wine we've got La Maison Bleue.
Okay. I had the Chevalier de Steringberg 17, but we won't try it. It's just for me, this one. Maison Bleue. Sorry.
Maison Bleue, 2017.
2017.
10 years moving from your first vintage.
Yes. Yes, we have done a lot of work, of course, between 06 and 7 and this vintage, and I've been able during those 10 years to, as you said before, to understand step by step more the terroir. And if you put again the map on the screen, I can show you that the Maison Bleue is mainly on the east part of Hermitage. So you have les Dionnières, les Murets, those small red part near Thoras, just on really the eastern part. So Maison Bleue is really about those parts of Hermitage. And here, Hermitage is one hill, but it is divided in smaller hills. So you have a big hill with small hillside. And Maison Bleue, it's less rocky, and we have more. We have deeper soil compared to the other part where we produce La Chapelle. So we are able. It's really a mix between pebbles and clay, and it's a rich and deeper soil. So it means that we are able to produce wine which will be drinkable younger compared to La Chapelle. So it's very interesting because it's a very great terroir, but you can drink it easily when it's young. La Chapelle, you can drink the wine during the first 2 years. It's good, it's very open and perfume and very rich. And then you have to forget it during at least 6-7 years because it will be completely closed. And then it starts to get a good evolution with the years. And Maison Bleue, it's very, yes, I don't want to say easy, because when we say easy, people think it's a simple wine, but it's really a very powerful and rich wine with a strong identity. But yes, you can drink it whenever you want, young or old, it's always good.
Because I think every wine is made with a particular reason. I think in the sense of La Chapelle, you are blessed with such a powerful terroir. A terroir that is that cannot be replicated anywhere else in the world. So it's meant for long aging. The steps and the techniques that you use is meant for long aging. La Maison Bleue is an entry, an opening to see how powerful a La Chapelle can be while they're waiting for the potential. I think every wine is created for a different reason, for different enjoyments and different pleasures. Yeah. So I think with the Maison Bleue, a lot of cassis, a lot of violets.
Maison Bleue, it's this small house you have on the label, which is in the middle of the vines. And we used to put because all the vineyards around the Maison Bleue are plowing with horses. And we used to put the horse inside the Maison Bleue during the summer when it's very warm and sunny. And also on the first level of the Maison Bleue, we use this place to dry all the plants for biodynamic, like urtica or all the plants we use in the biodynamic preparation. So that's the story of the small blue house.
Well, and then in terms of the Maison Bleu, are the vines of a different age, or is it? I think I missed that part a little bit. It's from a different area. And
yes, about the age of the vines in Hermitage, it's only old vines actually. We don't have young vines in Hermitage. That's one of the very important things. So all the vines are between 60 and sometimes more than 100 years old. So,
and
it's only old vines. And Maison Bleue it's not. The idea is not to produce a kind of second wine. It's just another part of Hermitage Hill, which brings another style, and for probably the most. If we want to speak a little bit about Hermitage, just to understand the story of this terroir. Okay, let's try to explain this in English. On the right bank of the Rhône Valley, you have what we call Massif Central, and it's mainly soil coming from the secondary era, and it's mainly granite. And then on the left bank of the Rhône, you have all the pebbles, like for example, here you have pebbles coming from the glacier, coming from the Alps. So it's very round pebbles. And what happened in Hermitage? So usually you have the granitic part on the Massif Central, right bank, and the pebbles coming from the Alps on the left bank. And what happened in Hermitage and what makes this place so special? It's that the Rhône River cut a little piece of granite, and with the erosion, a small piece of granite arrived on the left bank. So you have this small hill of granite, and granite is those kind of pebbles, very square and rocky. And then the glacier and the Rhône River brings a lot of round pebbles over this granitic part. And all the particularity of Hermitage is that it's a mix of those two big geological parts, granitic part and pebbles, round pebbles from the glacier and from the river. So you have a mix between all this kind of terroir. And if you bring back the map, we have on the eastern part of Hermitage, where we have Maison Bleue, we have mainly those round pebbles with a lot of argile. We can see here we have a very rich soil mixed with pebbles. And we have no granite on Maison Bleue terroir. Granite is more on the west part of Hermitage, and where we produce La Chapelle. So you have to know that, yes, Hermitage is really special in terms of geological history, and that's why That's why we have such a diversity and such a range of terroir in a small area. And then you can also add a different type of microclimate with a exposition, with altitude, with the wind. So Hermitage, the appellation is 130 hectares, but we have more, we can count more than 60 or 70 different terroir. It means combination between soil and microclimate. And for me, Maison Bleue has the shape of the pebbles where the vines grow. Maison Bleue is a round and a rich wine. And then when we speak about La Chapelle is a blend of different places. So we have terroir for La Chapelle with this kind of round pebbles, but we also have the granitic part. And La Chapelle is a mix between roundness and sharpie wine.
Structure. Yeah. So, well, now that we all understand, like, you know, when you share with us information about Hermitage, about the terroir, about the granites, about the soil, the difference in the soil. So maybe shall we taste the two La Chapelle side by side? We taste the 06 and the 11 side by side.
Oh yes, and then we have, yes, it's always interesting, but for me in each tasting, I like to compare. I think it's we learn a lot when we compare two wine. And even at home, I try to open, each time when I open a bottle at home, I try to open two bottles of the same aroma, same grapes variety or same years, to be able to have a comparison, because I think it's really a good way to learn and to understand. So yes, we can compare 11 and 06. That's a good idea.
Yep.
So but if I can give you an advice to improve your tasting ability, try to do as often as possible comparison between two wine.
It is one of the questions that that was asked is, do you ever or would you ever taste one of the or realize that, you know, you want to make some of the La Maison Bleue into the blend of Chapelle?
Oh, if I want to,
take one, will you ever mix La Maison Bleue into Chapelle? Will you taste and then you realize that quality? Would you ever?
No. What happened, for example, in 2008 is that we had a very awful climate just before harvest, and we had more than 100 millimeters of water during one night, and it was I don't remember, it was the 15th of September, and it was absolutely a disaster for the vines, because the grapes were not ripened, so we were not able to pick the grapes, and all this water damaged a lot the berries. Just to give you a comparison, 100 millimeters of water is usually what we have in 3 months, and we had this quantity in one night. So I let you imagine the disaster in the vineyard. What we did at that time, we did a first harvest to cut all the damaged grapes and to let the beautiful grapes ripen in good condition. But of course, at the end, on Hermitage, when we started to taste the grapes and then the wine, We decided not to produce La Chapelle on this vintage because for us the quality was not good enough to produce La Chapelle, and all the wine from La Chapelle terroir was blended in a. It was not called La Maison Bleue at this time. It was called La Petite Chapelle.
Chapelle.
But yes, sometimes if we think that so La Petite Chapelle 08 is really good because it's all the terroir coming from La Chapelle, so it's really a good a good wine. But at a good value, it's really a good value. If you find Petite Chapelle 08, you can buy it without any doubt. It's a very good wine for the price. It's amazing. But it was not the quality of La Chapelle. And La Chapelle is one of the best wine in the world. And of course, sometimes we can have those kind of climatic accident. That can happen. And yes, we decided to produce only Petite Chapelle. So sometimes those kind of things can happen, but it never happened that a part of Maison Bleue goes into La Chapelle. That never happened.
Okay, so that answers one of the questions that we had in the chat. Okay, so now let's talk about 2006 and 2011.
Yeah, so yes, 6 was my first vintage. So no.
What was it like?
Happily, the terroir was still the same, and I know that we were not perfect in, you know, it was my first time picking the grapes in Hermitage. I was so worried, actually. I wanted to do the best I can, but I knew nothing about Hermitage at this time. So of course, some people in the vineyards were still there, and they had the experience about Hermitage and Syrah. So they helped me a lot. But at the beginning, when the wine was young, I was not so happy with this wine. Especially because I think we use too much new oak in this vintage, just to be honest. And now, after years of aging, I realize it's a good wine in a good window, and I think that even if we do little mistake during the vinification, when La Chapelle age, the only things which stay in the bottle is the terroir, and with the aging, the wine forget about her mistake, and you only have the terroir in the bottles, and that's probably one of the reasons why this wine is so magical.
It is. What do you find? How do you find the 2011?
But with the years, I think that La Chapelle has gained also in texture and in flesh in the middle of the mouth. It's something which is for me always special about La Chapelle. You have the structure, of course, the length, the tannins, and all the structure of the wine. But then, in the middle of the mouth, there is always a nice flesh of the wine. Something which is a little bit, it's round, but it's not heavy. It's something like a cloud. You know?
It's the freshest. I taste a lot of crush rocks. Is that something that's evident in a Hermitage?
Yes, in 11 especially, I think we really have the expression of the granitic part, which is you have the. But you know, even when we test the grapes, there is such a big difference between the grapes coming from Les Bessards, coming from Le Méal, coming from Les Roucouls. The skin of the grapes has not the same texture, not the same perfume. La Chapelle is a blend of all the terroir of Hermitage. And it's something which is, I would like to say it's important for La Chapelle to be a blend of terroir, because as I explained you before, Hermitage is a blend of terroir between those granite and those round pebbles. The story of Hermitage, of the soil, is a blend. And if we want to reflect the story of the hill, I really believe that to blend those different parts is very important. And then, if we want to go further, we can also explain that Syrah is a blend of those two, because Syrah is a blend of white grapes coming from the Alps, called Mondeuse Blanche, so coming from this geological part. And the other parents of Syrah is the grapes called Dureza, red grapes called Dureza, coming from the Massif Central, coming from this geological part. So everything on Hermitage, the story of the soil, the story of the grapes, the story of Syrah, and then the story of the wine is a blend between those geological parts. I think it's, yeah, for me, it's the wine has to express this story of the soil and of the grapes.
But that's very unique, because if you think about the 2006 and the 2011 that we're tasting side by side, and with your story that, you know, it comes from different parcels, it has parcels coming from different terroir, different subsoil, and yet the wine today is showing differently. 2011 to me feels a lot more of the crushed rocks, a little bit more colder to me, whereas the 2006 I feel more violet. The bouquet, the nose, it's much more flamboyant and it's much more expressive compared to the 11. So
yes, I would say that 11 is not especially in the good window today. As I told before, for me, La Chapelle, you can drink it in the first 2 years when it's very fresh and powerful, and you have an explosion of perfume, of fruit, and the texture is really powerful. And then the wine, as all the great wine, the wine closed during several years. Perhaps to enjoy, perhaps if you try the 11 tomorrow, it will be different. So keep a little bit of wine for tomorrow. And for me, you know, the mouth of the 11, it's like a butterfly, which is like this.
But this is so interesting when you talk about wines, okay? Because at different stages, at different lines, during different conversations, you will find that the wines gives you different expressions and different emotions. Yeah. Yeah. But well, as we're talking, you when you're aerating the wines, you find the different characters that's coming out from the different glasses. Yeah.
But okay, when you have a glass of La Chapelle, what is also very interesting is that you can. It's really like sharing something with the glass, like sharing a conversation. Because when you put your nose on the glass and you try the wine, and then you let your glass during 10 minutes and you smell again the wine, and it's different, and That's why sometimes at home I try to keep wine until the next day, and it's very interesting to try the wine the next day. They are very different, and usually on the young vintage, the mouth is really more not especially round and powerful, but you have much more layers in the wine.
It's like the butterfly. Yeah. Anyway, we've got really nice comments. Okay, we've got comments from Tamara that say she really loved the 2011. It's beautifully fragrant. And then we've got Mr. Lee Haoshing that asked the questions. In your last 10 years with La Chapelle, yeah, do you change the parcels? Do you change any of the parcels that you want to make La Chapelle?
No.
The same.
It's always the same.
So the magical question, 1990, the 1961 was the phenomenal vintage.
Yeah.
So
61, it was all the parcel from Hermitage because the Maison Bleue did not exist.
So 61 includes the Maison Bleu.
Yes, Maison Bleue existed since 2001.
Right. So maybe
before, Chapelle was blended with all the parcel from Hermitage. But of course, it was not bad, as we know. 61 was very good. So.
Yes. So well, maybe that leads to answer the question. One of the questions is Maison Bleu not good enough to mix with La Chapelle? I don't think so, because 61 was a magical vintage and it included parcels from Maison Bleu. Yeah. So maybe it's just a different direction that you're taking.
Yes, what we have seen is it's different style of wine, and we see the things is that I have to wait 30 years before knowing if I am right or not. So,
like you say, this is about patience.
Yeah, of course, 61 is very good. And it's still an amazing wine. And I hope all the wine I will produce will be as good as 61. But I am very confident today in what we are doing. Even if I ask myself a lot of questions and I'm still trying to improve things. I am confident because I know that today all the work we are doing in the vineyard, the vines are really in good shape. I know that, I can see that. The vines are in good shape, and we, yes, I have to wait many years before being able to say I was right or I was wrong. But I have the intuition and the feeling that I am in the good way, the good approach.
So why don't we taste the 99s?
Yes.
Yes. So when we're tasting 99, we don't have any bottles in Singapore, so we decided to open a Magnum instead.
Well, something which is important to answer again to the previous question is that the terroir is still here, and whatever we do, with the aging, the terroir is the only to speak in the bottle. So in 61, in 99, in 06, in 2020, it's still the same vines, the same pebbles, the same place. So it's the most important things. So 1990.
1999.
1999, sorry. Yes, 1990 would be good too.
Yes, I wouldn't complain at all.
Next time.
Yeah. So for Singapore, we've got ours in Magnums.
So here you can have the nose and in the mouth. You can understand how La Chapelle aged and what kinds of perfume the wine is able to develop. For me, La Chapelle is really this idea of a lot of layers in the nose and in the mouth. It's something quite complex.
For 99, I've got the spices. I've got pepper.
Pepper, and there is also kind of dark chocolate or a coffee. Yeah, something in this idea. But you know, sometimes the nose it's so. When the nose is very complex and it's difficult to have the exact word on what we are feeling. It's much more about a global idea, and I like when the wine is so complex and the nose is so complex that it's not easy to find the exact word. You are in a kind of atmosphere. The wine brings you in a kind of atmosphere. That's.
So tasting through the three different vintages for La Chapelle, the 11, the 06, and the 99, my opinion is like the 2011 shows you a lot of layers, shows a lot of potential. It at the current moment, to me, it's mysterious in the sense that it has not shown you the full potential of the wine. Whereas the 2006, it gives you a glimpse, because while we were talking and chatting about the wine kind of changed and developed over that just minutes in terms of the bouquet, in terms of the fragrance. And now you taste the 1999, that few 5 years difference, you know, you get the spices that is very evident once you pour it into the glass. So having a comparison of the different vintages, I think that gives you the pleasure and the advantage to actually visualize and to see what do you want to achieve in the next 5 years, and what actually happened in the vineyards in that particular vintage.
But I like when you speak about a mysterious wine, because it's something that I like to have in La Chapelle. Because this place is a little bit mysterious when you work in the vineyard, and I like when the wine had this kind of mysterious things. You put the nose on the glass, and then yes, it's something, and then you have something else, and it's step by step. It's a kind of
discovery.
Yes, discovery. You know, it's like when you meet someone, you have to take time to know the person, and it's the same thing.
So the 99 vintage was not made by you. So tasting the wine now.
It was still the same place and the same vines.
Yeah. So tasting the wine now, the 99, what is your opinion as a fellow winemaker to the winemaker that make the wine?
You know what? I'm not I'm not the best person to speak about my wine, because I'm very demanding, and it's very difficult for me to taste my wine. When I'm in the process, when I'm in the vinification, I'm in the blend tasting, and I'm really focused and involved in what I am doing. And then when the wine is in bottle, yes, I'm always very demanding, and I want, I'm not the best person to speak about my vintage, and it's very difficult for me to compare.
Okay, in that case, maybe we ask something else. Okay, because we have a question over here that says that you manages wineries across different places, Bordeaux, Burgundy, Switzerland. harvest time must be a nightmare for you.
I drive a lot. I spend a lot of time in my car. And I have realized that I spent 1 month per year in my car. That's a lot. So no, that's okay. I try to. Of course, I have a good team in each place, and when I'm not here, I know that my team is very focused on the harvest and the vinification. But for example, Jaboulet and Burgundy harvest are at the same period, so I travel a lot every day. I go from one vineyard to another, and then La Lagune is later, so that's okay. I can, especially the Cabernet Sauvignon. Usually, when we started to harvest Cabernet Sauvignon, we have finished harvest in other place, and then Switzerland. It's really small, so that's okay. I managed to pick up the grapes in 1 day, 1 or 2 days, but it's it's a kind of marathon, but that's okay. And I don't travel. My only travel are in Jaboulet, La Lagune, Burgundy, and Switzerland. So I don't have time to travel in another place.
Okay, one of the last few questions, more commercial. Okay, La Chapelle, the reputation, one of the best wines in the world, but there are some markets that are still opening up to Rhone. So in the last 10 years in developing a Rhone portfolio in your empire, what are some of the, which are the markets do you think are the fastest emerging in terms of Rhone Valley wines? And what are some of the marketing techniques you have in sharing these ideas?
Perhaps Gwenaëlle can answer this question better than me.
Yes.
I'm involved in the winemaking and in the viticulture, and I have a very good team to sell the wine. So it's all a bit, and all my time in the vineyard and in the cellar. No, but I know that, of course, in Asia, a lot of markets are growing very fast, but perhaps Gwenaëlle will be more precise about this. But La Chapelle has always been very well distributed over the world. This wine made a great success, and the production is very small for the whole world. So
it's okay.
Yes, perhaps I would say that in Asia, but sorry, I'm not able to give you specific country.
No problems. I think, and I've got a question for you actually, for myself. Yeah. What was the motivation for you to buy Paul Jaboulet?
We were not really looking for buying Paul Jaboulet Aine, because actually nobody was at this time was able to say that one day Jaboulet will be on sale, because it was owned by the family, and after sixth generation of Jaboulet family, nobody was able to know that yes, Jaboulet would be on sale one day. Actually, it was someone called my father and explained that the Jaboulet family decided to sell the winery, and they were looking for someone to purchase the estate. And then my father called me. We were really surprised by this news. And we said, okay, La Chapelle, it's really one of the best terroirs in the world. So it's a huge chance to have this opportunity. So we have to go. We have to do this. But we were not especially looking for buying something. It's just the life.
it's just the opportunity and the life. And I think, being able to make wines in the Hill of Hermitage it's a special opportunity because, like you say, it is one varietal Syrah, and it has all the different microclimates. It has all the different terroirs. It has all the different soils. It's a lot of techniques and a lot of experience and a lot of skills that's required to continue the legend, to make a good wine.
It's much more than an opportunity. It's a real dream.
Is there anywhere else in the world that you would like to make wine?
Any other place, you say?
Yes. Any other place in the world that you would like to make wine?
I have a small project actually. Because I really like the Barolo from the northern of Italy. And actually my family comes from this part of Italy. They come from, one part come from Switzerland and one part come from northern Italy, and especially come from the Aosta. I don't know. It's a place in northern the north of Italy, and I know that one of my grand uncle used to have vineyards in this part of Italy, and yes, I would like one day to be able to find these vineyards and to start making wine in this part of Italy. We'll see. I like to have this kind of challenge. But Barolo is really a great place. If Barolo was near Hermitage, definitely I would love to do Barolo. It's a little bit far and not on my road trip.
I was going to say, you're going to spend more time in you spend more time in your car.
I have to purchase an helicopter or
yeah. But I think we all have a lovely tasting, and we all have. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences with us, and sharing your knowledge, sharing your winemaking techniques. And
thank you. I'm sorry, sometimes my English is not enough good to explain everything I would like to say.
No worries. Because I think when you talk about French wines, some of the words, really needs to be explained in French, and when you translate it back to English, it gets a little bit disjointed. Yeah. Yeah. But thank you very much, everyone. And I do apologize if we are not able to answer every single questions, but I think we thank Caroline for the time and the wines that she shared with us today. So, we do have an order form. If you'd like to purchase any of the wines, do drop us a note. If you'd like to say hi, visit Caroline, you can also let us know, and we will make an appointment for you to visit her. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Well,
thank you very much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, everyone.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.